Hi guys, this is Lowell Stitches. Welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to learn how to properly pad a princess bustier like the one you see in this video. It is a very simple and straightforward tutorial. Let's get right into it. So the first thing you're going to do after cutting out your dress is to iron an interface on everything. As you can see, this is the interface. It is called stay. I've ironed it on both the front and the back of my fabric. So now what we're going to do next is to cut out the breast pad. This is it. We call it breast pad here. So we're going to be cutting this. It is the medium size. It is not the lightest and it is not the thickest, just the medium size. So now we're going to cut out the breast pad for both the center front and the side front. So now the first thing we're going to do is to cut out the breast part for the side front. It is on fold because we have two pieces of this. So I folded it this way. Make sure you have that edge that I'm pointing to. Then you place your fabric this way. Make sure it stops on your underbust line. Do you get? Don't let it go below your underbust line. So I'm just going to measure 2.5 inches because you don't want your breast part to go all the way to the end. You're just going to measure like 2.5 or 3 inches highest. Then you're going to cut out the shape. You can place something on it if you don't want it to shake. Again, the reason why I'm measuring that 2.5 inches is because I don't want to get into my sewing allowance and also get into that armhole where you find it difficult to sew your sleeve because that part is too thick. Do you understand? So I'm just going to stop at this point. So this is it. I'm going to stop at that point where we have that mark. So now I'm just going to remove this. Remember, we are cutting on fold. So I'm just going to use my pen. It's quite easy. Use your free hand and just trace it back to that point where I marked. So that is just it. And when you're cutting, make sure it doesn't get to your sewing allowance as I said. So I'm just going to cut this out and we have the breast part for the side front ready. Okay, so this is it. I'm done cutting and we're going to be ironing this on our side front. You see how it matches. So now the next thing we're going to be doing now is to cut out the breast part for the center front. So I'm just going to trim off the excess that I have from cutting the other part. I'm just going to trim it off and make sure I have a straight line. Now the breast part is also going to be on fold, but this time around the other side is not going to be cut open because we are cutting the center front. So when you are cutting your fabric, make sure that you make a sign like a notch on the line of the underbust. Do you understand? So that you know where your breast part is going to stop. It should not go below your underbust line. Do you understand? So I'm placing my center front like this, and you see this place I'm pointing at, that is where my underbust stop, and I made a notch already. That is why I know. So I'm also going to be measuring 2.5 inches like I measured for the center front. That is where my breast part is going to stop. So I've used my pen already to mark it out. And then I'm going to draw a straight line because you don't want your breast part to get to your neckline. It's going to look very bulky. So you draw a straight line to meet that point. I'm drawing it to meet that 2.5 mark. I marked. That is where I'm going to be cutting out. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to just cut. So just watch as I do it. So now I am done cutting and this is what we have. So we have to do one last thing on this breast pad. On this point, you're going to be marking 0.7 inches. Then you're going to connect it back to the other line. We are doing this because I don't know if you've noticed some situations where you see the breast part folding, the under bust part folding, caving inside. So you are doing this to just make it flat. You're not going to be having that folding effect when you're wearing it or your client is wearing it. That is why we're taking out 0.7 inches. So this is how it's going to look. So now what we're going to do next is to iron this. So as I said, we're going to be ironing. For a total beginner, your breast pad there, if you notice a part there is very shiny, one part of your breast pad is very shiny. That is the part that has the glue on it, and that is where you're going to be placing your fabric on so that you'll be able to iron and attach it to your main fabric. So I'm just going to be using my iron to iron it like this. And if you're working with a fabric that is shiny, you can place a fabric on it to form like what do I call it? So that it doesn't give your fabric a sign. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to iron everything on it. I'm going to iron the center front, and I'm also going to iron the side front. So guys, I am done ironing both the center front and the side front, and this is how it looks. Yours should also look like this. Remember, you're going to place your iron your interface before you iron your breast pad on it. Now, the next step, which is very important, is to iron an interface over the breast pad again. Yes, you heard me. You're going to be ironing your interface on the breast pad again. So if you're working this princess that is actually more than the length is more than the half waist. So but if you're working with a style that it stops at the half waist, you can just iron an interface over it completely. But for me, I'm just going to stop on the under bust line. That is where I'm going to start from the top and end at the under bust where I have my bust pad, because this top is actually up to the hip length. So I'm not going to be ironing my interface up to that length. So you place your interface like this, just let it stop within the area you have your breast pad, and then you're going to iron. So what I'm going to do now is to just cut out the shape. I'm just going to trim out the excess and try to cut out the shape that I want, so that when you're ironing and you don't cut this excess out, if your iron touches it, it's going to stick to the iron. So I'm just going to cut this out, and I'm also going to do the same thing for the other three and iron it. The other two rather. Okay, so guys, this is it. I am done ironing on these three pieces that we have. As you can see inside, this is it, and it's the same thing too on the other pieces too. So now the next thing we're going to do is to attach the side front to the center front. You know how we do it, right? You're going to be placing it this way and try to I'm just going to trim out this excess that we have here, and I'm also going to try to iron it properly for it to stick properly on the fabric. And after doing this, I'm going to be going to my sewing machine to attach the center front to the side front. So you're just going to do this and follow the shape. I'm going to do that and show you what it looks like. If you don't know how to properly sew your bustier together, or you find it difficult to do it, just let me know. I'm going to drop a detailed tutorial on that if you need it. But for now, I'm just going to sew this off camera and show you what it looks like. Okay, so guys, this is how it looks. I'm done sewing without even ironing. You can see how beautiful it looks already. It is already giving what it's supposed to give. So now, to even give it more structure, what we're going to do now is to use our scissors we're going to cut it like this. You're not going to be cutting through the entire fabric. For those that do not know, just going to cut it like this. We're going to cut it round to the end. This is to allow it to properly relax. So when we're ironing, we'll be able to open it up and iron it properly, so it doesn't look like something is, I don't know how to explain it, but just do this. It's going to give you that relaxed look when you're wearing it or when your client is wearing it. So I'm just going to cut on both sides, and then we're going to move to the next step. So the next thing we're going to do after this is to iron, and for that you're going to need your bust arm. I don't have, so I'm improvising. I'm using this ball instead. I'm going to make one for myself. Yeah, DIY. I'm going to do it myself very soon and make a bust arm for myself. So you need this. You cannot iron on a flat surface. If you iron on a flat surface, it's going to it's just going to deform the shape of your bust. So you have to iron using this bust arm, or if you have something to improvise with, you can use it if you don't have a bust arm. So I'm just going to sprinkle water on it like this. This is going to help me iron it properly. So after doing this, I'm just going to iron. At this point, I think you should just watch carefully as I do it. You're just going to open it up like this and iron to the point, to that all point. So you're going to iron it like this. Add water if you need to add water to help you iron it properly, but be careful if you're working with a fabric that stains easily. Just add a little bit of water because you don't want your bustier to have stains all over it. So I'm just going to iron this. So this is it. I am done ironing, and you're also going to repeat this same process on the other side. And now what I'm going to do next is to trim off the excess that we have, that's the allowance, because you don't want it to, the bulky part, you don't want it to look bulky. So I'm just going to trim off the excess. So after ironing the inside, you're going to turn it over like this. It is now time to iron the outside. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of water on it, and then I'm also going to iron the way I did it. Mind you, I'm using a ball, a Bustier, let me put it that way, to iron this. So it's just kind of, should we say we are molding it? Yes. We're just trying to like mold the bust. So as you can see, it's already having that shape, that round shape that it's supposed to have. So you're just going to also iron the front part this way. Mind you, if you're working with a fabric like silk, I wouldn't advise that you iron your interface on your main fabric, iron it on your lining only. So now I'm going to repeat the same thing too on the other side. So guys, I am done ironing both parts. So now what we're going to do, oh gosh, look at this. It's looking so beautiful already. So now what we're going to do next is to just open this part up and iron it. This video is getting long already, so we're just going to open the part up. I'm also going to do the same thing too on the other side and give it a good ironing. So this is it, guys. This is how it looks very beautiful already. Mind you, we're also going to repeat this thing on the lining, the interface, the breast pad, everything we did on the main fabric. You're going to repeat it. It's going to give it a very good structure. This is my lining. I already repeated everything we did. I'm going to give it a good ironing too, and then I'm going to use it to turn it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and also like, share, and drop a comment. See you on the next one.